This week we're going to be doing your Unit 8 assessments. So you're going to have a project, you're going to have your multiple choice, and then as always you got your weekly check-in that you got to do. So just kind of looking at the details for this week. What you're going to see is there's 3 videos for you to watch. One is this one. There are 2 short code.org videos. I would definitely watch those. And then we're going to talk about the project, and we're going to talk a little bit about the multiple choice test. So we're going to start by looking at the project. So for the project, you're going to see that there is a project guide. This is a worksheet that you will need to open, make a copy of. You're going to complete this project entirely in the worksheet. But before we start that, we need to kind of look at, what the project entails. So kind of going through the slides, these are available to you on Canvas. You'll see there is this short video. That's one of the videos that I linked to on Canvas. You're going to want to make sure that you watch that, because to do this video, you need to basically come up with a computing innovation of your own that you think would be helpful for you as a student. So when we're talking about a computing innovation, we kind of went into this really quick last week, but you need to understand what a computing innovation is. It is basically any new product that includes program as an integral part of its function, right? So in some way there is code. There's a program that is a part of this computing innovation. These innovations, they can be physical, like self-driving cars. They can be non-physical computing software. So this is like picture editing software, AI, stuff like that. It can also be non-physical computing concepts, so something like an e-commerce site. But we'll kind of get into the details on what you need to do, but you need to understand what these computing innovations are, right? They're any sort of innovation that includes program as an integral part of its function. So there is this second video for you to watch, mainly because we also talk about bias in regards to these computing innovations. It's this idea that we create something, we think it's going to be something really good for society or for our fellow students, whoever it is. But sometimes there's unintended consequences, right? The example I gave last time was the like button on Facebook. That was kind of developed by this guy. He thought it was going to be this really cool thing so that people could post stuff on Facebook and essentially share with their friends, and their friends could like this and it would make people feel good. He never intended for it to make people feel bad, right? This idea that, oh, I posted something and I didn't get enough likes. That was an unintended consequence of this computing innovation. So whatever your innovation is, you're going to be asked to think about what are the positive parts of this, but what are potentially some unintended consequences that come from this computing innovation, right? It's not always possible to predict every outcome, but kind of thinking about this critically, talking to people that that's part of this project, you can try to, determine what might be a negative consequence from your computing innovation that you come up with. All right. So looking at the worksheet that you're going to complete, there's a couple parts to this. So this first page, you are going to write a reflection. So as a student, consider things that you struggle with at school and ways that you think technology could be used to improve those areas. Your ideas should be realistic, but don't need to currently exist. What I want you to do is kind of think about this. What would you want to invent? What computing innovation would you want to come up with that involves code that could help you, your classmates, your teachers, administrators, whoever it is in a school setting do better? Right? So you need to write about 3 or 4 sentences here. I'm not looking for axes, so you just need to kind of freely write, but you do need to answer all of these kind of sub-questions in here. So again, it needs to be realistic, doesn't need to currently exist. In the space below, explain your struggle and the different ways you think technology could help you, right? So again, this could be a tool like an AI tool, like an AI teacher, where it would know who you are. You could feed it information and it could kind of guide you towards the response, right? I get all sorts of innovations during this project. Honestly, some of them are kind of cool. You just need to figure out which direction you want to go with this. Write about that in step 1. Step 2, you're going to actually come up with 3 innovations that you would like to consider. So for each innovation, right, you're going to do this 3 times. You're going to explain its purpose, why this innovation exists, the function, how it would actually work, In regards to your innovation, what data would you have to collect, right? So you need to really think about this because this is kind of where you go from, a mid-level grade to a higher grade like an A or a B. What data is going to be collected? Be as specific and as thorough as you can. And then why would you recommend this innovation? Okay, so none of these need to be full paragraphs. I'm just looking for a sentence or two, bulleted list are fine here, explaining all 4 of these for your 3 innovations. So you got to come up with 3. Once you have the 3, you're going to need to share these with either a classmate, a friend, a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, whoever you have, right? I know you're online. You might not know the other students in this class, but you're surrounded by students all day. You have friends at school. Share with them your 3 innovations. So give me their name, tell me what feedback they gave you, and tell me how that changed, modified, or updated your view of this innovation, right? They can choose any of the 3 innovations to look like. They just need to look at your innovations and give you some feedback and tell me how that changed your view of that innovation. All right, you are then going to start what we call your 1-pager. So of your 3 innovations, you are going to select 1. So for the 1 innovation that you select, you need to basically replace any of this red text with your own. So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to name your innovation, right? Come up with something fun, unique, creative. Name your innovation. You're then going to replace this image with an image of your own. This image should kind of reflect your innovation. So you can find something online, you can make something yourself, it's up to you. But you need to name it, give me an image. And then for this 1-pager, you do need to use Axis. So you're going to, again, do not give me bullets. Do not just give me a sentence or 2. You need to actually use Axis to write a full paragraph that addresses these different topics. So the first one is the purpose and benefits. You need to write a paragraph explaining the reason the innovation exists. You should talk about the specific groups in the school community that you think would benefit, the problems or challenges that that group is facing, the specific ways that group would benefit from your innovation, and at least one specific reason your innovation or your school community would be interested in this innovation. Next, you're going to talk about the function. So you need to, again, write a paragraph using Access that talks about, a high-level description of how users will interact with this innovation, what data the innovation uses or collects, and how that data is going to be processed and stored, right? Because we've talked a lot this unit about data, open data, big data. It's important for users to understand how their data is being stored, shared, used, all of that. So that's going to lead you into a paragraph about concerns where you should list at least one specific group in the school that could potentially be harmed by this innovation and the way that they could be harmed, and at least one specific privacy or security concern that arises from collecting the data needed to run your innovation. So for example, if your innovation requires geolocation data from the user, you need to talk about how that's a privacy and a security concern and how you are going to address that using these different topics that we talked about in Unit 8. You are then going to address those concerns. So again, a full paragraph using Access where you draw these direct ties to the concerns raised in the previous paragraph, at least one cybersecurity technique that could be used to make the innovation more secure in ways you could or would be willing to limit the innovation or alter its functionality to avoid these concerns. Lastly, I need sources, right? So you should be looking things up while you're going through this, kind of the privacy, security concerns, what your innovation's doing, what data you're going to need, all of that. You should be on the internet kind of looking for sources. I need sources listed here, at least 2 or 3 that you used to help you with this project. So if you don't have any sources, you should really kind of reconsider the quality of what you just did, because you're not going to get a high grade if you're not kind of integrating some of these sources into what you're saying, right? So again, this 1-pager, all of these purpose, benefits, function, concerns, addressing concerns, all need Access. You should have sources that you're citing and kind of using as you go through this, all right? the rubric's at the bottom, so you can see it's worth 40 points, kind of breaks down what each category is, and then how many points it's worth and what a A looks like versus a B versus a C. So yeah, I'll let you guys read that. Beyond the project, you also have a multiple choice test. This test is going to look a little different in that A, it's 20 questions. So there's a lot of vocab. So make sure you know what these different terms are and what their definitions are. In addition, you're going to get 2 or 3 what we call SSQRP questions. You will see these on the AP exam. You'll see them on the course final. They are basically a single select question with a reading passage. So what you're going to see is there will be a paragraph or two that explains a computing innovation. Based off that explanation of what that innovation is, you will be asked 5 questions about that specific innovation. So again, this shows up on the AP exam. You're going to see it on your multiple choice test this week. You're also going to see it on the course final. In regards to those SSQRPs, there are specific questions that they ask you. Right. So for the innovation, they may focus on which of the following input data must be obtained, needs to be obtained by the system. So again, you got to be able to read that passage and kind of answer these questions. But you have access to this slide. I would look it over, especially before the AP exam for those of you taking it, because those SSQRPs, your questions will come from this list. Right? In some way, you need to explain for those computing innovations, the unintended effect, the least or most likely data that's going to get secured from it, and the privacy and security storage, right? The groups, which are least or most likely to receive targeted advertisements. They're going to ask you questions from this based off that innovation. And that pretty much does it for this week. So again, you're going to have the project. You're going to have your multiple choice, and then you just need to do your weekly check-in. So if you have any questions, come see me. Otherwise, good luck, and I will see you next week.